So welcome to the acrylic class. It's just Leslie and Janet for this class this month. So we're going to have to work you guys, both of you guys, very hard.
Don't faint, Janet.
I won't. I'm used to her.
But since Janet is now is a beginner with acrylic, we're going to do some exercises that are for beginner. And for today, we are going to play with the greens and put a little red in it to make brown. And we're going to do something like this.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I am
Nice.
scared now.
Wow.
Whoa.
Whoa is right.
Well, it looks, you know, big and complex, but I will walk you through every single step. And before we attempt to do this, we're going to play with our colors to try and make those colors that we find in the tree. And so we're going to play with some colors to try and make a nice lime green color and a nice dark green color. And also we're going to play with them to make a nice deep brown and a light brown. And this here is a combination of these colors as well. So, are we ready?
So I need a piece of paper, obviously.
Yeah, what do we use?
Right. So to do our first exercise where we will practice our colors, you're going to need bowl of water. That's my bowl of water. I've used it a little bit. There's a little bit of paint on my bowl. You're gonna need 2 brushes. Small brushes are good. If the larger brushes, if you have larger ones, that's even better. So a flat brush, like a little one like this, could work. But if you have like a bigger one like this, or a filbert like this, that's even better. Also, you're going to need paper. Yes, either a canvas board, or paper.
I get canvas board.
Canvas board's good.
Let me just get it.
I just realized I don't even have one.
Yeah, 9 by 12, okay?
9 by 12 is very good. So, well, I have a canvas board that's bigger. This is 12 by 16. But I painted my tree on this side, and I'm going to do my first exercise on this side. Now, you should use a 9 by 12, either acrylic paper, or canvas board, or canvas. That will be like your sandbox to play and do the exercise about the colors. And then after that, you're going to use a separate one, 9 by 12, either canvas board, canvas, or acrylic paper to paint your tree. I cut mine like this because this size represents a 9 by 12. So when we paint the tree, we're going to use the 9 by 12. And this side is just the remaining, and I'm going to play here to do the colors.
Would it be good to do our exercises on acrylic paper and then do our painting on a board, or does it matter?
Well, doing the exercise on acrylic paper is probably a good idea, just because we're just going to play in with the colors. Okay. So you don't necessarily want to use a nice board for that, but you can use the board for that if you want.
Okay.
But acrylic paper is what I recommend. Okay. Now, if you have an acrylic paper,
put it on a board.
I recommend that you tape it to a board like this.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as with watercolor paper.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done that, then now would be the time to do it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I have both canvas paper and acrylic paper. Is canvas paper thicker better? What's the difference?
So the colors, I haven't mentioned the colors that you're going to need. And the colors that we are going to use are, they are primary yellow.
Oh, I love it.
This is from Dick Blick Studio. The other color is alizarin crimson. It's kind of a very cool red. And ultramarine blue. So
That was hard to find online.
this.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah,
not an
sold
easy
out
color.
in many places.
So this brand, Winsor & Newton Galleria, this is more of a professional grade. The studio acrylic from Blick, this is more of a student grade. At the studio, I have the Acrylic. This is also from Dick Blick, but the big container.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. You don't have to buy this much. You won't need this.
No, but it's good to have it.
Yeah. A tube this size is plenty enough for you guys. That's 2 ounces. Yeah, 2 ounces. There's also this brand, the Heavy Body by Liquitex. This is a professional grade. You don't need a heavy body. You can have the student grade from Liquitex, which I don't have an example here.
That's the basic, right?
I have
That's the
Liquitex.
basic, yeah.
Okay.
And well, I was going to show this last one. This is Artist Loft.
Yeah.
So this is the Michaels brand. And I have the big bottles, but of course you can have the small tubes. This would be good. This is not a color. This is cobalt blue. That's not a color I asked you to buy,
Right.
but just to tell you there's this brand. And Leslie, you were showing us another brand.
The Liquitex?
Yeah, the yellow tube that you showed us. Yeah. So Liquitex Basics. Yeah. So this is a student grade, I think. Yeah. Which also, this is a 4 ounce tube. You don't need this much, but this works very well.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, I want to. I want to.
Sure.
You had a bottle in the video. It was a white medium that you added to the paint.
Oh, yes.
What does that do and what is it?
Okay. So I'm going to show you. I have it right here. So the medium is called gloss, medium, and varnish.
Okay.
Okay. This one is glossy. They have a matte one. They have an ultra sheen one. They have all sorts now. When I first started painting 20, 30 years ago, they didn't have that much variety, but now they do. This is the Liquitex brand. They have it in different brands as well. Golden has one, and other brands have it. So what does this do? So the name of it, gloss, medium, and varnish. So if you want, you could use this to varnish your painting after you're done painting it. And what this will do is you will just put a coat of this or 2 coats of this on the painting, and it will seal the painting so that, let's say you were in a fire. Well, this painting would be protected by this.
Wow.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Now, when mixing this gloss medium with the paint to paint with it, what happens is when you paint with the painting, when you use the paint and mix it with this and then paint with this mix, it seals the painting on the canvas. And so therefore, when you put another color on top, the first color, if it's dry, it will not lift. If you didn't put any medium, the first color may have a tendency to lift sometimes.
Right.
And if the previous color lifts and mix with the color you're applying, it may create mud. So you might get a muddy kind of finish. I don't ask the students to buy this. Usually sometimes you can use acrylics to paint by glazes, very thin layer of transparent color, one on top of the other, a little bit like you would when using watercolor paintings.
Mhm.
And to do that, it's better to put medium into your mix, because if you put a lot of water with your acrylics, it will become even easier to lift when you put the next coat. So if you mix your watery acrylic with some medium, you apply it, it will never lift when you do the next
Oh.
coat on top.
Good job.
Thank you.
Now, on your palette, you should have, I'm just gonna bring that like this, the primary yellow, the alizarin crimson, and the ultramarine blue.
Yeah.
And so we're going to use the blue and the yellow, because we're going to try and attempt the colors that we see on this tree. Starting with the very light green. So,
Excuse me.
yeah.
I don't have a palette knife. Do I just use a plastic knife?
You don't need the palette knife.
Oh, okay.
You can just, so you can, if you have one, you can mix with your palette knife. But if you don't have a palette knife, which I didn't request for you to buy, you can just use your brush. So if you have a small brush like this one, this is pretty small, flat brush, you can use that. If you have a slightly larger one, I would suggest you take this slightly larger one, like this one. But either one will work. If you have a round brush, more like this, so this one is more like a round brush, you can use this. This could work too. But I like using a larger than smaller, like this. And so I do have the example right here. You guys can see it on the screen. Basically, to make this light yellow or light lime green, if we go back to the color wheel, you didn't do a color wheel with the acrylic, but it's the same as the color wheel that we have in the watercolor. Basically, this is a store-bought color wheel. So we're going to try and attempt to create a color that's similar to this. So it's kind of a yellow with a little bit of green in it. So to make this color, we use an awful lot of yellow and just a little bit, teeny little bit of blue. And when you put the blue into your yellow, start with just a teeny little bit. It's always easier to add more blue than add more yellow, because the yellow compared to the blue is a lot stronger than the yellow.
Do you
So-
always wet your brush first or no?
I didn't
Okay.
in this case, because we're going to paint pretty thick today, which is not
Alright.
something that I usually do, but I like to try something new from time to time. So see, I took a good amount of yellow. See how much there is? And I put it here to initiate my mix. Now I could clean my brush, but I'm not going to, and I'm going to dip right, see, on the edge of my blue, just a little bit of blue. Just a teeny little bit of blue, see? Very small amount of blue compared to the yellow. And I'm going to mix it with my yellow. And now I get this. I have some test strip here. So, and that's already, if I compare this with the light of my tree, it's already much darker. See? Can you see the difference? I'll just go like this.
Oh,
See the
yeah.
difference? So I picked up too much blue for the amount of yellow that I had. So if that happened, now in order to lighten this, I'm going to leave this alone, leave it here, and start a new pile over here. So what I had on my brush, I put it here, and I'm just gonna add yellow to this pile to lighten. I'm not even gonna use more of the blue. So now, by adding more yellow to this, I've definitely lightened this lime green a lot. See?
Yeah.
And if I compare it with the color that I had here, that's pretty close. See this and this? Very, very close. So I'm going to stick with this. So now in the process, what happened is I created a puddle of my very light yellow and a puddle of my mid green, which I'm ready to use. And so we have an area here. Well, I have this whole area. You have a whole canvas
Sheet.
Yeah. So are you done with your mixes? Are you ready for the next step?
Mm-hmm.
Because now what I want to do is I want to create my dark green. So I'm not even putting the brush in the paint yet. And I'm going to take still a good amount of yellow, a little bit of the blue, not too much. So I'm taking this much, still not too much because I don't have a whole lot of yellow. Mix it with the yellow. And it's already giving me a pretty dark green. Just going to take a little bit more. And this is giving me a pretty dark green. I'm going to put it here. So it's darker than the very light one. It's also darker than my mid-tone here. And then in this dark green, I'm just going to put a little bit here. If I were to put just a teeny little bit of my alizarin crimson, now it's going to turn brown. It's going to turn brown. So using what I have here, right now I have the brown. I'm going to put some right here on my palette, on my test, my sandbox. Now in between, I need to completely clean my brush. Completely. Now I'm going to put a little bit of each on my my paper or my canvas. And once I've put the first color, I'm not going to clean my brush, and I'm going to pick the second color, all of it, and put it right here next to it. And I'm going to have some fun and have them mix because it's so thick. And then I take the next color, which is the dark, and I put it right here next to it. And I'm having them mix too. I have a nice gradation of all the colors, like so.
I gotta get my green darker.
And if I wanted this green to be even darker, then what I would do is I would take some of the alizarin crimson. I didn't have enough left over. And then I would put it in it, and it would give me more of a brown color. And that would be also very harmonious and interesting. We're going to attempt the same thing one more time. This time, we're going to use we're going to use more water in our paint. So you don't have to do this. I have a glass palette, so that's why I use a razor blade to clean my glass palette, because I'm out of yellow. You may be out of yellow too. Now's the time to add more yellow on your palette. All right. So we still have the primary yellow, the alizarin crimson, and the ultramarine blue. Now, using my brush, and you can use your palette knife if you have one, but you don't have to have a palette knife. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some yellow, and I'm actually going to put some here and some here. Now I'm going to use water to make it more, whoops, better if you guys can see it. I'm going to use water to make it more watery than before. I'm using just a teeny little bit of blue. Remember how blue is stronger? So I'm just using just a teeny little bit just to start with. Mix it here. That was not quite enough. So using a little bit more. Yeah, that's turning to be a nice lime green. Just a teeny little bit. Yes. And I'm going to make it watery. So I dip my brush in the water and I just bring the water over here. So that'll be my lime green. Now, I'm going to dip my brush in water again, bring more water, and with this little pile of yellow that I just put here, and I'm going to get some of my blue, more this time, to get a nice dark green. I'm going to even use a little bit more. This time I'll just do 2 colors. So this is getting a little darker of a green. And I want to make sure it's very watery, so I'm going to dip my brush in water again. This will be my green. It's a nice darker green. So if I put them here, so this is my dark green. It's not as dark as before. And clean my brush completely. And I can put a little bit of this just to see the next color next to it. So that's my lime green. That's very, very close to yellow. And now I'm going to create the green one more time over here with a lot of water. Like so. It's almost running because my palette's not completely flat. Blue. That makes my green. So we've made the green one more time. Pretty close. Those 2 greens are pretty close. I've got to make it at least as green. So I need to make sure I add enough blue. So it's a little darker, but that's okay. Now in this green, I'm going to add a teeny bit of my alizarin crimson. So I have just a little bit on the edge of the brush. And I put it in this. Maybe just a tinge more. And now here, I'm getting a green that is even darker than my previous green. You can see here. So I have my very light green, then my green, and then my darker green. This one was made using this green and some of this alizarin crimson. So now I have my 3 colors. And well, since I have the dark green, can't really see it very well because of the reflection. But anyway, you could see it on my display here. So since I have this very dark green on my brush, I'm going to put it on here, and you can see it's running because it's so watery. Now, so I've put some on there. Clean my brush completely. Now I'm using this green, the middle one, the one that is green, putting it here. Because it's very watery, I can mix them together. Clean my brush completely. Now I'm using this one and putting it here. And now I'm going up a little bit. This is almost like doing a graded wash. So now you can see I've used my light green, my green, and my darkest green. And these are the colors that we're going to use to paint this tree. But this is using the acrylics, like watercolor, and using them very watery. Now, if you were to paint on top of these would probably lift even after they're dry because we didn't use the medium. But if we had, then you could paint on top and they would not lift.
Claire, how did you get the darker green again?
Good question. So I'm going to put this like this. So how did I get the darker green? I'm going to do another example right here. So
Okay.
first, I started with my yellow, which I made very watery.
Okay.
Okay, now making it watery or not watery is not what makes a difference because we could have made the same thing with the very thick paint. So in this yellow, I'm going to use some blue to make it green. So I'm adding some blue into it to make it green.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit more. So now I've come up with my green.
Yep.
Now in this green, to make it like this, I'm going to add a little bit of alizarin crimson. Now if we look at the color wheel, the green and the red are complementary color. So in this green, if I add a little bit of alizarin crimson, not too much, just a little, just a teeny little bit on the tip of the brush.
Okay.
Add it in here. And I'm getting this. And not quite enough, so I'm gonna use a little bit more.
See, I'm getting a brown.
Yeah, because this is, and now I'm getting a brown too,
Okay.
because you have used more red than I have.
Okay.
And so if I were to
So
put
should
it
I-
here, like, see, this is the brown that I'm getting now, as opposed to this one.
Oh, no, it's kind of dark green. That's pretty good.
No, this is more like
Yes.
that. This is more like brown.
Oh, yeah. Yours is redder than mine.
In this case, before I added the red, my green was not dark enough.
Right.
So, and I added more red than in the previous case. So that's what happened. So if I want to correct that, what I could do is to this mix, I could add a little bit more blue. And then I'm going to have a color that will be much darker. See,
Yep.
right here,
Mine's not quite as dark.
and blue, and then it becomes more like this color. All right, so I will give you 5 minutes to, now using the colors that we just practiced. So we practiced these colors, lime green, green, darker green. Using these colors, we can paint what we see here. And this darker green here, if you add even a little bit more of the red in it, then, excuse me, I'm gonna look at this. So if you add even more of the red in it, then you're going to create a nice brown that can be used on the tree trunk over here. And by adding a little white, then we can have a lighter version of the tree trunk. And this down here is some of the lime green with just a little bit of the red in it to make it warm, you know, the grass. So let's look at one section of, you know, of the leaves. Let's say an area like this, like right here in the middle. So if we only look at this section right here in the middle, so we have the very dark green. It actually, I even put a little bit of red in the green to make it even darker. And there's a mid-tone here in the middle. And then there's a very light lime green. So this indicates that the leaves are catching the light up here. And then as they're coming down and under, they're catching less and less light. That's what this is. So to create this effect, let's try to reproduce just this little section right here. And we're going to do it, I'm going to do it here. You have your paper. Do you still have room on your playground paper? Is that a yes or a no?
Oh, your
Oh,
microphone.
plywood, yeah, I have my, what do you call it, panel.
Okay. Now, this is still my playground here. Do you still
Oh,
have
okay.
room on your playground paper?
Yeah, I still have room, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to use an area and practice doing something like this. And to do this, we're going to first practice it with the very watery paint, and then we're going to practice one more time with the thick paint. Okay? So, I'm going to put this right here. The first thing to do is to create those colors again. And now you're experts at it. And this time we're going to do something slightly different. So I'm using this brush to create my lime green. So we're going to do this very watery. So I'm putting some yellow here. Well, this is a little bit too much. Some yellow here. So I'm going to do 3. So this will be the lime green. This will be the green. And this will be the extra dark. I'm not going to put as much yellow here. Okay. So using this one brush, I'm adding water to my yellow. So now I have a watery yellow, and I'm adding just a teeny little bit of blue. So you can do this at the same time, or you can watch the demonstration and do it after. So I'm adding just a teeny bit of blue. See how much? No, very, very little. I want to make sure I don't go too dark with my color. So I think this is pretty good. It gives me a nice, nice light green. Now, I'm going to put this brush aside. I'm not touching. So I'm putting this brush right here. That's very rare. I'm not going to put it back in the water. I'm going to use another brush. So let's say I use my small flat brush. Put it in the water. Wet this. Now this brush doesn't pick up as much water, so I have to put in the water twice to wet all of the yellow. Once it's wet, I'm going to create a nice green by using some ultramarine blue. Maybe even darker than this a little bit. Very good. Now this brush is very wet. It's got the nice green on it. And I'm going to put this aside too. Now, if you only have 2 brushes, then you can reuse this brush we just used. Now, because I have a big pile of brushes, I have an option to use another brush. So this time I'm going to use another flat brush like the same one that I just used. I'm going to put it in the water, wet my yellow. I don't have a whole lot of yellow here this time because I want a darker green. So I'm going to use some blue to put in this darker green. And I'm going to also use a little bit of alizarin crimson. I'm gonna get a little bit more water. A little bit of alizarin crimson to make it even darker. Not too much. So now I have my brushes with each with the right color. So you can see here I have the three colors. My lime green, green, and this is a very deep forest green with a little bit of alizarin crimson added to the green. Now I have all my brushes ready to go right here, not in the water, on my paper towel. I'm gonna start with my lime green. And I'm gonna do it like this so you guys can see for sure. And first, I'm gonna wet the area of the whole section that I want to paint of the leaves. So it's just a little area like this. And note how I'm not trying to paint like this. I'm really painting with the side of the brush. Put this brush aside. Now I'm picking up the mid green brush, this one. I'm taking a bit of this. And the light is hitting the top. So I'm not going to paint all the way to the top. So what I want to do is I want to paint from the middle down. Yeah, I want to, like this. See how I'm painting with the side of the brush?
Mhm.
Now, once this done, I put this brush down and I'm taking my brush that has a dark color. Pick it up, put it in my dark, and the dark is only catching the bottom. So I'm not only gonna put this bottom color down here. Now you wanna make sure you have enough color.
Are you going over the previous color?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So this color would be to catch the bottom. So now I'm going to show you close by. So what I did is first I painted this whole section, the whole thing with the lime green. And now because the light is hitting the top, I didn't go over this section with my next color. I picked up the brush that has the mid green color and I covered this area all the way to the bottom with the mid green. Then I put the brush down, I picked up the brush that has the dark green, and I only went over this section. When you do the very dark green section, you have to make sure you have enough pigment on your brush to make sure that you go over and you cover the previous color. And what happens is with gravity, the colors will blend. Some will blend better, like over here, than over here, but that's okay. In nature, all lines are not equal. Some lines are sharper, some lines are darker. But then you let this dry, and it gives a little bit of the effect of watercoloring. So now I'll give you 15 minutes to try this. So I have my 3 brushes that are the colors that I want. So I'm not gonna try to clean them too much.
Oh, I did.
And you have to make sure that you have enough paint because we're gonna paint with thick paint. So that'll take quite a bit of paint to do. So first is mix your colors, starting with the lime green. So a lot of yellow. See how much there is? A little bit of blue, not too much. Start with just a little bit on your brush. Ooh, it's almost enough. Not quite enough. I'm just going to use a little bit more. If it's too much, just remove some. Okay, so now I have my lime green. My brush is loaded with paint, and I'm going to put it aside right here, not in the water. And now I'm gonna take the brush that was the green, this one, and I'm gonna make some green with this brush.
Let's see what that-
There we go. Nice green, very nice, very thick, not watery. Now my brush is loaded with paint, and I'm gonna put it aside right here. I'm gonna take the other brush. I remove the water from the brush before I start, every time. Now I'm gonna use some yellow, some blue. I wanna do another nice dark green, not enough blue. You wanna make sure this green is dark enough. And in this green, I'm gonna add some alizarin crimson. There, this is very good. So just to show you the colors that I've made. So I'm gonna put this brush not in the water, just aside. This brush also not in the water. I can just pick them up and show you the colors that I've made. So see, I've made the light green, the green, and the even darker green. And using my 3 brushes, so I have my 3 brushes right here. Doesn't really show which one is green and which one is dark green, but I know. So I'm gonna start with my lime green. Gonna show you what I'm doing, that's better. So I'm gonna start with my lime green. This time, because we're painting thick, I'm only gonna put the lime green at the top. I'm not going to cover the whole thing with the lime green. So this is my lime green. And I'm imagining that this is the top of the tree. Now I'm going with my green. Very thick on the brush, see? And I'm putting my thick green right here under as a second layer. See how my brush is sideways? And I could leave it like this, but it doesn't make it very interesting. So if I blend a little bit the two,
Yeah.
higher in some areas, but not necessarily everywhere. And then I can always take my other brush and try and blend it with this too. So this way, the two get blended in a very interesting way. Now I take my other brush, which is the one where I have my even darker green, and I load it up with paint, with a lot of paint on it, see? Michelle would like that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I put this color right here at the bottom. This is where, you know, the leaves that have the most shadow. And
Voila.
well, there's still a line in between the two. You don't necessarily know that. So I'm gonna blend them just by.
Claire, your microphone is covered.
Yeah, I can't,
So I'm gonna blend them like this.
no, she can't hear us.
She can't hear us.
No.
My microphone's covered.
Yes.
Well, we can't hear you well.
When you bring the palette up near the screen, your voice disappears.
Yeah.
Okay, how about like this? Can you hear me?
That's better.
That's much
Okay,
better, yeah.
So see how I blended the colors together?
Yep.
And I could even pick up a little bit more of my alizarin crimson to go even darker down here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see the nuance.
Yep.
So, and then I can always go back to my brush that is green and, you know, and add some more if I want to. So, because it's so thick, I keep painting thick on thick. And I could even take the very dark one and, oh, maybe there's a little bit of darkness that's happening here. You know, because you have all this paint, you can try things out. And maybe the light is sketching over here. So it's creating these great effects of
Very flexible.
leaves everywhere.
Well, that's good.
So now it's your turn to try these out. Yeah. Now remember, leaves are like they're organic shapes, so they don't have to be perfectly round. And you can, you know, this is your sandbox. This is your chance to try things out
Okay.
and mix and match. So it gives me some, it almost looks like a little cloud. Now I'm going to put my brushes back in the water because I don't want them to dry out. So let's see. Yes. So this is what your drawing will look like.
Oh, yeah, tracing.
So the tree trunk is here at the bottom, and there's a few branches, but the leaves, it's just an overall mass. It's like an overall canopy on top in a form like this, and then another area here. And if you compare this with this,
Yep.
see, in the end, it's slightly different, but it's a good way to do a very simple drawing. And you can do this drawing. You have two choices. You could do this drawing in your book, trace it onto your paper, or you could do this drawing in your book and then redraw it onto your canvas. Or if you feel comfortable enough, you can draw this directly onto your canvas.
Okay.
So which do you want to do?
I'm probably going to do it on paper first.
Okay.
I might do it directly on the panel or try.
Okay. So do you want me to walk you through this drawing? And then
Yes.
you can do it at the same time. I think that's a good idea.
That would
All
be
right.
nice.
We should be drawing now.
Yes,
Yeah,
be
we're gonna
drawing
do
right
it.
now.
Cover our paints with the saran wrap, you say?
That's a good idea. Yes.
Oh, so what is that? Just you cover them with what? Saran wrap?
Oh, yeah, she doesn't know about. Preston's
Okay,
here.
so let me see. Let me show you. This is what I use to cover my paint. And I'm not part owner. I don't have shares in this company, but press and seal is very convenient to cover the paint and keep them wet until the next time that you paint. So what I do is I use a water bottle like this. This is just water in a bottle. I spray the paints, and then I put a cover. I put a layer of this, and I press all around the paint. And what happens is this will keep the paint for several days.
Wow.
And then you can just, unwrap it and use it again. Sometimes it's even good for a week,
Okay.
depending on how much paint you have. So in my case, see, I have a pretty good big blob of.
Yeah, I got a lot of paint here, so.
And
Yes, I do too.
So I just.
I gotta go get a spray bottle. Can I run down and get my spray bottle? How much time do we have?
I just go like this and I cover it up.
Oh,
And then
it's
I
almost free.
press around.
Oh, that stuff's awesome.
It is, it really is.
Oh, that's going right on my grocery list.
Yeah. Yeah, you can buy that at the grocery store. And, you could So one thing that you can do also, this paper is 9 by 12, the same size that I'm going to paint on. And for the tree, I'm going to use the whole surface. So try and not do a little tree down here or up here. Whoops. We're going to use all of the paper, because when we paint it, we want to paint it in the full page. Starting with, so we're going to start with the tree trunk. So the tree trunk, the tree will be like, it will be about like 1 inch from the bottom, like this. So this will be, let's say this is the ground. So the tree trunk is just, you know, you don't have to necessarily make all the branches. Can you see? Oh, it's not so good. This, there. This sun that's happening makes it. So I'm going to make it very dark so that you guys can see. So starting with one side of the tree trunk, I just started like this. So there are angles to the tree trunks, a few angles here and there. This is on the right-hand side. And here there's a little angle because we're going to have a branch that goes like this. And then on the other side, we're going to have the branch is going to, the tree trunk will be more like this. And then on this side, there's this branch here. And there's another branch going this way. Here. That's probably enough for a tree trunk. Maybe we'll add another branch right here. Now we have this.
Okay. Oops.
Are you guys breathing?
Yeah, a little.
Let's now add the branch, the leaves to this. So the leaves is like a nondescript shape or organic shape. And what we're going to do the leaves is we're going to do a grouping of leaves over here. So let's do something like this. So there will be one grouping of leaves. Then we're going to do another grouping over here. I'm going to let you do this one first. And this is just an overall approximate location of where the leaves will be painted. Once we paint it, it'll probably be slightly different from that. And if I compare this with the actual painting that I did, this is different from the painting that I did or where I put the leaves. So now this is one grouping of leaves. Now I'm going to put another grouping of leaves over here. That's another grouping. And the other grouping will be here, something like this. So it's an approximate. Maybe we'll have some leaves here too. But just to show you, this is the tree. And now this is what my drawing looks like. So eventually it'll maybe go a little higher or a little bit more to the left or a little bit more to the right. But the approximation. So this tree is actually different from this one. Now that I look at it,